In olden times, the village was centered around one profession, the blacksmith. Today, though, it's turned into a true art. Welcome back to That One Thing. Today, we got the chance to meet with Shawn, an artistic blacksmith at Front Step Forge. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Shawn.
Way back when, smithing was the focus. That was kind of what the village was centered around. That was where everything happened. Today, obviously that's diminished with mass manufacturing. How relevant is smithing in this day and age?
I get that question constantly, the relevance of smithing to our modern era. That's also part of why when I do demonstrations in public, I explain I'm a contemporary blacksmith. I don't know if it really helps all that much, but it gives somebody an idea that we might exist in this date and time. Most people observe my efforts at a demonstration and conclude that I must do it as a hobby. And I said, no, it's been my full-time career for over 30 years. I do interior and architectural wrought iron work, and so if you need something for your house and it's a little out of the ordinary, I'm the guy who does it.
All the custom stuff and the stuff you can't find anywhere else, really.
Yeah, if you need door pulls to match the set that you have in the kitchen, but now you have a reverse osmosis drawer, one of the fridges that installs in the wall, you need somebody who can copy that.
Fair enough. How did you get into it? How long have you been doing it?
So I've wanted to do this since I was a little kid. My parents took us to Upper Canada Village when I was 6 or 7 years old. Blacksmith made me a nail, and I know my hair stood on end because I looked at it and thought, playing with fire is a job?
I mean, I was a businessman doing business.
I still have the nail.
So if somebody wants to get into blacksmithing to start, how would they go about it?
So I always give everyone the same advice. The best thing you can do is take a class. My classes here in Edmonton are ones I created at NAIT in 2008, and they've been going full strong for the last 16 years. The other way, of course, is to find someone that you can learn from. But increasingly, that's difficult to do. Most blacksmiths work in small groups, and they keep quite an efficient practice. So taking the time away from that work in order to teach somebody takes up more time. That's why I really recommend the classes.
With blacksmithing, you always hear, a farrier, an artistic, a bladesmith. What's the difference between like the multiple facets of it?
Throughout the many years of blacksmithing, there's many different divisions. At one point in one of the poll taxes in Britain, there were 50 different kinds of blacksmiths, all involved in different parts of steel making. After the steel's been created, they then worked it, so that's where we get our term wrought iron from, to nowadays where we're divided into trade names that still have smith in them. So we still have locksmith, we still have gunsmith, so by striking and forming, stretching and shaping the material, that's where those names came from. Nowadays, I'm an artist blacksmith. I make decorations for houses, jewelry for houses as it were, gates, railings, chairs, tables, and as part of my holistic practice, I also make all the tools I use, and that has since gone into an industry all in itself where I'm supplying other smiths with tools.
One of the debates that I found online that I was reading about is if you're going to get into smithing, it's the type of forge to use. Some people will say coal is the only way to go, some people say gas. Advantages and disadvantages of either?
I find the debate about what your fuel source is almost irrelevant. Each has its advantages and disadvantages, but in every time period on Earth, smiths used the plentiful fuel from the area. It had to be inexpensive, it had to be available in bulk, whether you use charcoal, coal, gas, or any of the other ways of heating up material. I mean, there's some cultures that even use green chestnut wood.
Interesting. Why green? Wouldn't that just smoke beat all hell?
I suspect it is able to char up at a different rate than dry wood, but one of the African smiths uses peanut shell or groundnut shell as his fuel. So throughout time period, wherever you derive your heat source from, your ability to control that heat source became much more important
than what you were actually using.
I, in my shop, use the vast majority as my gas forge. It's a consistent heat over a wide range of zones. The coal forge is what I like when I need precision. It's more easy to destroy your work because it exceeds the temperature that steel can get to. It can go to 2700 to 3000 degrees, which turns my steel into a clinker, cinder, or a sparkler, depending on what. For the vast majority of the time, I'm able to get most of my work done, especially the sort of bulk work I've been doing lately, with gas fired, so propane fired forge.
Just to keep that consistency. So if somebody wants to be a smith, they want to get into it, what kind of knowledge would they need to have?
The obvious things always seem like the metallurgical knowledge, but based in that, your ability to communicate your 3D thought to a customer who's probably looking at it in 2D is essential. In modern times, we have a lot of different digital manners of doing that. But up until recently, everything was communicated in 2D, like line drawing, pencil drawing, or in my case, I'd often do an illustration with color as well. And that's communicated to the client in order to get a response. And they have to be able to look at your 2D drawing and translate it into 3D in their mind. Very challenging combination of events. So the obvious skills of a blacksmith, forging, heat treatment of metals, isn't the most essential skill to making a living as a blacksmith. The ability to communicate what you do
Is far more important in that regard.
I could have asked questions all day with Shawn. The amount of knowledge that he has and his willingness to talk about it was amazing. His class was undoubtedly worth the cost. Pretty much everything I ever wanted to know about smithing was wrapped into 2.5 days. From history, theory, metallurgy, right down to the skills to do some basic shaping and making basic tools. He covered as much as he could. It was an amazing way to learn. You spend time as a group listening to the instruction, then we are set loose on our anvils to put it into practice. By the time the weekend was over, I was confident and ready to try some of it on my own.
What kinds of projects have you worked on?
So I've worked on a broad range of projects, from restorations to complete new creations. So some of the large things that you can see in public, I spent over 2,000 hours forging all the railings for Calgary's City Hall. So that's the old building. The 1907 building was renovated in 94, 95. All the wrought ironwork panels in the circular portions of the staircases were forged right here at that anvil. And then the City of St. Albert came to me and commissioned a gazebo for their sculpture garden. So I spent about a year making that as well. And so it's a 5 meter by 5 meter iron gazebo.
I remember seeing the pictures for that one. The thing's huge.
Yes, a lot of people took classes in the gazebo here in the shop during those years.
For somebody who wants to take a look at what you're selling in regards to your projects, your tools that you're making for sale, if somebody wants to commission you for a project, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Frontstepforge.com.
Literally just to the website?
Website, every social media that I have access to, I have as Front Step Forge. You can find my gallery of the last 30 plus years of work on that page as well as the things that I have ready to go, things I'll make for you, and suggestions of things I might make for you.
Shawn, thanks for having us in today. I really appreciate you taking the time for, to be able to chat about this and ask a few of the questions. I'd love to get a hold of you down the road again. Thank you for having us in today.
I'm always amazed by the fortuitous meetings I had. So I met you through my courses at NATE, And that always leads to fascinating connections throughout things. So thank you for remembering and coming back.
Appreciate it. And guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, all the usuals. I'll leave the link for his website in the details below, as I always do. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to comment what your one thing is so we can use it for a future video. And thanks for watching.